welcome all. Welcome all to the Atlassian Ace event, and today we have Heinz with us. So I'll just give a quick introduction of what we are going to do today, and also basically today is 10th July, yeah, and I'll give the introduction as the means today we are having spreadsheet issue editing for Jira and introducing JXL, and this entire session would be taken by Heinz. So we have got a code of contact for this Atlassian community. Like, please stay on mute all the time unless you have a question to ask, and if you have a noisy background, then kindly mute the video to avoid any distractions. And if you have any question, you can raise your hand. I would be happy to moderate to unmute you so that you can ask the questions to Heinz. On top of that, we have got around 15 minutes of time allotted for the dedicated Q&A. Okay, so the next is the agenda. Agenda is like this is the welcome note I have already given. So next I would hand over to Heinz. Heinz is basically the co-founder and the co-CEO of Fine Software, and followed by that we will have QA, question and answer, and the event closure. And for today's session, that's a good thing. Like, I would be sharing Atlassian tremendous cards to two of the lucky attendees, and so that would be shared on the chat. Okay. So with this, I would transfer the host thing to Heinz so that he can share his screen and show us whatever he wanted. I have given you the host permission, Heinz. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And someone, maybe you want to mute yourself. There's a bit of noise. Thank you very much. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Hannes, and I would like to say thank you and for having me today and giving me the opportunity to talk about a tool that I've been working on, JXL. And let me share my slides. Here we go. And there we are. I trust that you folks can see this. So before getting to the actual tool, I would actually like to just spend a few minutes talking about myself. I'll keep that short, but I think it will give some context to what JXL is and why we built JXL. So yeah, this is me when I get a haircut, and my Atlassian journey actually started quite a few years ago, 2013, when I founded a little startup here in Vienna in Austria called Radiant Minds with 4 friends of mine, and we built this thing, also an add-on for Jira, called Roadmaps for Jira. And if that looks familiar to you, it's because Roadmaps for Jira actually got acquired by Atlassian about 1 year later, and was then renamed into Portfolio for Jira, but now it actually evolved into Advanced Roadmaps. So this been the journey of our little first Atlassian add-on. So I joined Atlassian, the entire team joined Atlassian. We all kind of moved down to Sydney, to the headquarters, beautiful Sydney city. And after joining Atlassian, I continued working on the add-on. As I said, it was renamed into Portfolio, and then later back into Roadmaps, or Advanced Roadmaps. So I did that for a little while, and then actually moved on to the Atlassian front-end platform. So that's the organization, the team that is responsible for the new Jira UI and Jira Cloud. So the React-based, code-based, the single-page application experience that you folks may know from Jira Cloud. And while working for Atlassian, working on Jira, I think I was legitimately mind blown by the many ways that people use Jira. Right? I think if you work for Atlassian, there is really rarely a use case and the way of using Jira that you can't see, right? So I think the way that people use Jira is just amazing, right? People are so creative in using Jira, and I think this power, this flexibility of Jira is really what makes it so successful. But interestingly enough, while Jira is such a powerful tool, such a flexible tool, it is also relatively opinionated, right? In some ways. So while certain tasks are very, very easy to do, like for example, to drag a card from to do into in progress, that's very easy, right? Other tasks are actually less easy to do, right, and require quite a bit of clicking around and are not easy to do. So if you ask a Jira customer, I think most people will agree that Jira is a very, very powerful tool, right? When you ask people if Jira is easy to use, well, some people may agree, but some people may actually disagree, right, depending on how they use Jira. And while working for Atlassian, we actually saw people invent all kinds of workarounds for doing their job. So one of them we actually called the circle of Excel. So what we saw people doing is to export their data from Jira into a spreadsheet application, right? Into Google, into Microsoft Excel, into Google Sheets, into Numbers, and view the data there and analyze the data there, perhaps even change the data there, and occasionally actually trying to re-import them back into Jira. And that's obviously not a great way of using Jira, and not a great way of getting stuff done. But if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense, right? Because what are we dealing with in Jira? Well, we're dealing with sets, with lists of issues, where every issue has a number of fields or a number of dimensions, right? And this kind of data structure, a list of issues where each issue has a number of fields, really leans itself well to a spreadsheet-like interaction and spreadsheet-like visualization. And the other thing to take into account is that these tools, Excel, Sheets, Numbers, they're just really, really good applications, right? And I mean, they had a lot of time to get it right. Excel, Microsoft Excel, was actually first shipped in 1985, that the year in which I was born. So they had almost 40 years to get these interactions really, really nice and tidy, and to really optimize the way that you're dealing with spreadsheets. So they're just really, really good, right? And you may now say that spreadsheet applications are maybe a little bit old school and outdated, and maybe not the newest kid on the block, but maybe look into Airtable, right? I think Airtable and similar companies really managed to make spreadsheet experiences modern and hip again. So thinking about this for a good while working for Atlassian, I actually decided to add another dot to my personal Atlassian timeline and start a new business in the Atlassian ecosystem called Fine Software, together with my co-founder, who's also an ex-Atlassian. And we decided to build JXL with the goal to combine the power and flexibility of Jira with the familiarity and usability of spreadsheets. So how does this look like? Well, I think a demo says more than 1,000 words, right? So let's have a look. So I'm now switching to my Jira instance. In general, to install JXL, it's a Jira add-on on the marketplace. So you really install it like you install any other add-on as well. In this case, you could, for example, go to the marketplace at Atlassian.com, search for JXL. Here it is, and you can then try it for free on your cloud site. I'll fast forward to when it's already installed. So this is our demo instance, and you can see that I have JXL installed, and it adds this sheets menu entry to the top. But the main entry point to JXL is really the project. So let's navigate into one of our projects here. And you can see that in the project sidebar, I now have an additional entry called Sheets. This entry is added by JXL. And as I navigate to this entry, you see a so-called sheet, but I'll get to the actual sheet in a little bit. What is a sheet? The sheet is really the main entity of JXL, and it's a little bit similar to what boards are to Jira software, in that you can have an arbitrary number of sheets within every project. So these are the sheets of my Find project, and a sheet has essentially three properties. So I'll go into the let's create a new sheet, and what you can see here, a sheet has on the one hand, it has a title, like everything must have a name, and so do sheets. So I call this Hannes sheet for the time being. Then it has a JQL statement, which defines which issues are part of my sheet. So I can modify that as I want. In this case, I could, for example, say that I want the project to be demo and the assignee to be myself, for example. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing, is what we call the column configuration. So down here, you can now see the issues of our sheet, along with the various properties that I'm interested in. And what I can do now is I can move these columns around. I can delete these columns if I'm not interested in them. So let's say I'm not interested in the reporter column, for example. So I'll delete that one, and I can add new columns. So we support all the standard Jira fields and all the Jira software fields, all the Jira service desk fields, and also all the custom fields. So let's say the reporter I just removed, we don't need that. And let's say we add the time since created. And we can now see, well, all these issues were created 4 months ago. And we hit create. And we now created a Hannes sheet. I'll just switch to the other one because it's a little bit easier to demo. So now that we created the sheet, or that we edited the sheet, I can of course edit all the sheets. This is when we actually work with JXL, right? And now what I'm getting is a spreadsheet experience within Jira. So here I can do all the things that I know from Excel, that I know from Google Sheets. So I can, select my cells. I can navigate around with the keyboard, and of course I can edit the fields. So let's say I want to change the summary of this one. I'll just hit enter, or I double click the cell. I change the summary. I confirm by clicking enter, for example, and you can see we actually updated that issue. So when I look into this issue, you will see that it now has the updated title. And I can do that with all the cells. So let's say I want to assign that issue from Daniel to myself. Again, I just double click it. I select myself in this case, and the issue is updated. Or I change the priority to high, done. And you can see that we support all the standard fields, right? So we saw the summary, we saw the assignee. You can see here, you can see the time tracking fields here. You can see some of the Jira software fields here, like flagged, or the due date, or the sprint. And you can see the custom field. And apart from that, I can do all the standard Excel interactions that I'm familiar with, right? Let's say I want to filter this down to all the fields that are flagged. Then I can do that, apply, and we only see the flagged issues. Or I want to sort the issues by the priority. I just can sort them, or sort them the other way, or remove the sorting. And you can see this all happens directly on the client side, right? So this is basically, in a sense, a very snappy experience. I can search the sheet up here if I want to search for all the columns. And yeah, one of my, I think my personal favorite feature is actually copy paste. So I don't know about you folks, but I'm an incredibly lazy person and I love copy pasting, right? So let's say we want to assign these 4 issues from Daniel to myself. The way that you could do it is you can select myself, hit the copy shortcut, so Command C, and you can see that this cell is now copied. And now I can paste this value into these 4 cells. So I'm now hitting the paste shortcut, Command V, and you can see that I just assigned these 4 issues to myself. Yeah, I'm not aware of any faster way of assigning issues. You can actually do that cross column, which sometimes makes more sense, sometimes makes less sense. So let's say I can also copy Daniel from here and paste Daniel there. I can even paste Daniel's name into the summary, which doesn't necessarily make a huge amount of sense, but I can do it. And likewise, I should be able to undo that. So I'm pressing Command C now to undo that, and it's undone. Another thing that I really like is this little status bar down here. So you may know that from Google Sheets is that you can select a couple of cells, and then Google Sheets give you the sum of these values or the average of these values. You can do that in JXL as well. It's something that I do quite often. So let's say I want to know the total story points of these couple of issues. Then all I need to do is select these cells. And you can see down here that I just selected 11 story points in total. Or I can do the same thing with the time spent. So in this case, all these issues together would be 2 weeks and 3 hours. Have 2 weeks and 3 hours time spent on them. And yeah, that's
Hadis, Shumain here. So can I ask a couple of questions? Sorry to interrupt.
Definitely, please do.
Yeah. So the first question is like when we are sorting out the issues. So basically, does it mean like it would get the issues from the JQL itself, right? Or
that's right. So
okay,
the issues are defined by this JQL expression, and you, for example, could have an order clause in here as well, right? We could say order by.
I mean, just like a simple JQL, we can write anything, right? Yeah.
That's right. And if you perform kind of a sorting operation in here, it basically overrides the sorting of the JQL expression. And if you reset any sorting, like for example down here, and you say clear sorting, then it falls back to the sorting that is defined in the JQL statement, if that makes sense.
Awesome. So one, I mean, my first question got answered. So the second question is something like, can we extract? I mean, whatever we are seeing here in this Sheets tab to some Excel sheet or CSV?
Oh yes, absolutely. So like our goal is that you shouldn't have to do that, right? Like we want to provide you as many features as possible, but definitely there are certain situations where you want to do that, and be it just to store the data somewhere. So at any stage, at any point in time, you can just go up here into this meatballs menu and hit export. And then you can either generate an Excel file or a CSV or a tab separated values document. So in this case.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you,
It
Hanif.
should
Yeah.
generate that, and this should look, don't fail me now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so this is basically, I think, the core functionality. As I said, I mean, you can resize your columns and do all these things. There's also this overview experience. So if you actually go to the apps menu and navigate to sheets here, what you're getting is something that's very similar to the Jira Cloud landing page, where you see your most recent sheets and the sheets that you have within your projects. And you can also create sheets from here within the various projects, etc. So just switching back to my presentation, let's sum this up really quickly. So the overall information architecture is that you can have multiple sheets per project, where every sheet is essentially three things. A sheet has a name, a sheet has a JQL, which defines the scope of the sheet, and it has what we call the column configuration, right? So while you're editing the sheet, you can remove, you can add columns, you can remove columns, and you can reshuffle the columns depending on your use case, right? It really depends on what problems you're facing, what problems you're trying to solve. As soon as you store the sheet, this is when you can actually view and edit Jira issues with JXL. So you can do your all the interactions that you're familiar with. You can highlight, you can sort, you can filter. My personal favorite feature, and I think a fantastic way to get stuff done, is to copy paste. Feedback so far has been very, very positive. There's a couple of quotes on the website that I think are really encouraging, and that we're quite proud of, to be honest with you. Specifically, what do customers like? I think the main point really is that JXL helps people to get stuff done, right? If you're dealing with sets of issues, then JXL shows to be a really, really efficient way of manipulating issues, looking at issues, understanding issues, and we're quite happy with that. And so are our customers. Performance, always been a passion topic of mine, and also something that I worked on while I was working for Atlassian. So we did quite a bit of optimization here, and we're now loading up to 10,000 issues per sheet in roughly 10 seconds. That's faster than many experiences, and I think is something that we're quite proud of as well. Scalability, when we built JXL, when we architected JXL, it was always very important for us that we're really ready for enterprise level customers. So, this is a tool that must work for a small Jira site just as well as for a large Jira site, an enterprise Jira site. And JXL is actually successfully running on some of the largest cloud instances out there. So JXL is running on an internal Atlassian instance, which actually may be the largest site, and it works very well there. Security, again, a big topic for more mature customers. And the way that we designed JXL is actually that all the data that we store, and that's not a huge amount of data, because mostly we're really showing Jira issues, but we do store the sheet configuration, the JQL statement, the sheet title, and these data we store in your Jira site, right, via a concept called entity properties, if you're familiar with it. But basically, it lives in the Jira site. So whatever measures Atlassian is taking to keep your data safe, and obviously this is a big priority to Atlassian, we can benefit from that as well. And this includes, for example, data residency, which is now being available to all customers, I think. And last but not least, we had a TechCrunch article a little while ago, which called our pricing quite reasonable. I would actually go one step further and say it's very attractive pricing. It works like for any other cloud offering of Atlassian. It's per seat pricing that decreases with the amount of seats, and I think it's quite affordable. What about negative feedback? Well, I think the main things that customers have been raising is missing features. I think with the existing features, people are quite happy. But there is definitely some things that people still want to see in JXL and that are on our roadmaps. So maybe let's have a quick look on what's next for JXL. There is probably the most urgent topic is I think a couple of topics that are connected to each other, and this is about ranking issues, so being able to drag them up and down, grouping issues by certain properties. In this screenshot, you can actually see that we're grouping issues by the assignee, right? And hierarchy, so to show the relationship between epics, stories, subtasks, and maybe even initiatives and higher. It's a little bit challenging, right? Because on the one hand, you want to show the hierarchy. On the other hand, you need to maintain the squareness, is that a word, of spreadsheets. So that's challenging, but I think we found quite a good solution, and we'll ship that soon. And other topics, issue creation and deletion. I'm actually working on issue create as we're talking. That's, I think, is similar to what you know from spreadsheets, like add row below that should create a new issue. Sheet sharing and sheet permissions, I think are less of a challenge. And requested by many customers is data center support. So right now JXL is developed for the cloud, but we definitely want to migrate it to the data center as well. There's just a lot of customers there that want it, and we should make it available to them. No doubt about that. And there's definitely many more issues on the roadmap. Another thing that has been coming up recently is conditional formatting. So to show a row in your sheet in a different color depending on a certain condition, for example. I think there's quite a few use cases where this would make sense. Sorry, I'm just seeing that there are questions in the chat room. I'll just answer them really quickly. First question is whether the data in the sheets can be used to design dashboards. We're not in general. We're just showing Jira data, so there's nothing in the sheet that isn't also available in other Jira views. It's really just issue data, right? There's no other data. So in general, the data that we show in the sheet you can use in other add-ons. You can use everywhere. JXL itself doesn't currently integrate with dashboards, so there is no JXL widget, for example. So would be interested to hear your thoughts if that's something that you think would be useful to you. And on the pricing point, I think there's a calculator on the website. I'll just go there really quickly. But so the bottom line is, yep. Sorry.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
There's a flat rate of $1 for the first 10 customers, so it's $1. And then it starts with 70 cents per customer and goes down to 20 cents per customer for the really large instances, which I think makes it quite affordable. But you can actually try out the exact number. So if you have 30 customers and you want to do annual pricing, then it would be 350 per year, for example, or 21 per month. Just really quickly on the technology, and I'm conscious of time.
So Hannes, a quick question from my end. Do we have any limitations of columns or rows in this sheet?
No. So columns, we support all the standard Jira fields. We support all the custom fields. We support some fields that come in from other add-ons, from very popular add-ons. So for example, we support the tempo fields in JXL as well. You can have as many columns as you like, and rows. It's currently limited to 10,000 issues, but we can actually increase this limit on demand. It's practically, we haven't really received any feedback that 10,000 issues wouldn't be enough. So that's currently where we are.
Okay, sure.
Just really quickly on the technology, we are actually embracing an architectural pattern that is now called the jam stack, and I'll just skip to that really quickly. The idea is that as much we really want to, JXL basically runs all in your browser, right? So the way that JXL as an add-on works is it lives in an iframe like any Jira Cloud add-on does. And we are in the first step downloading the add-on from a content delivery network, which is very fast, into your browser. So the initial loading is very fast. And from that time on, the logic really is mainly executed in the browser. And what it does is it occasionally calls out to microservices that are operated by us, but to a much larger degree, it talks directly to the Jira APIs. Right? Jira provides a number of APIs, and our code that runs in your browser talks straight to the APIs. So there's really nothing between your browser and Jira, which is one of the reasons why JXL is so fast, right? There's nothing in between. It's really your browser talking straight to Jira. I'll just skip through that. If you're interested in the implementation details, I actually talked about that at the last Atlassian Developer Day, which happened in May. I think there's still recordings available, so if you're interested, you can find my talk there. So this is basically my brief introduction to JXL. Thank you very much, everyone, for having me and for hearing me out. And very keen to hear your feedback, to know what you think about it, and what you feel that we could do differently, do better. Please.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. So what I'll do, I'll reclaim the host role here, and I'll just share my slide.
Perfect.
So basically, okay, so I think I have kept 15 minutes for Q&A and the event closure. So basically, all this Q&A were being asked in between. We bothered you a lot, stopped you in between, and asked lots of questions. So yeah, so this thing is pretty much covered. And regarding the Atlassian Tremendous card, which I was talking of, I would be distributing at the end of each session. So I have already given the links to Avinav, Charu, and Manu Shekhar. So you can check your chat boxes. You might have received a link that will help you to get the Atlassian Tremendous card. You can redeem at the Atlassian store. Thanks. And then I would like to thank Hannes wholeheartedly for giving us time for Atlassian Community Singapore. And so this JXL is really a very interesting add-on to have on. And coming to the one that you have shown at the very start phase, like you have worked on Portfolio. So I used Portfolio in I think 2016. I had to configure Tempo and Portfolio together, Tempo timesheets and all stuff. So that was also really good. So you did a good work there. So you did a wonderful work there itself. So definitely this JXL is coming from those hands. So definitely this would be excellent. Yeah. So So this was really a very nice knowledge sharing session. So over to Avinav, Charu, and Manu, if you want to ask any questions, you're free to ask, or Hennis, if you want to share anything to us.
I have one question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the interesting session, Hannes. And one question is there any video or any write-up? Can I go through in detail? What are the things I can play with these plugins? Any of your website or anywhere I can refer for further knowing about this?
Definitely. So if you go to JXL.app, well, I'll share it in the chat.
Okay, that will be.
There is an embedded video. It's quite short to just to manage expectations, but you can basically see how JXL is being used. We are working on a slightly better demo video, so that should become available in a couple of weeks, I think. But I think the website gives a pretty good overview of what you can do. So that's probably what I would refer to.
Okay, that will be great. Thank you.
And Manu, just if you need, if you want to get a demo for your team or for somebody, you can also just ping me directly, connect with me on LinkedIn and ping me, and then I'm more than happy to do that. Yeah.
Sure. I will connect with you in LinkedIn. Awesome. Thank you for the interesting session.
Thank you, Hannes. You would like to add anything?
No, folks. Again, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really value that you're here, that you're asking these great questions, that you're providing that feedback. Apologies for being late. I really messed up the time zones. I checked this 3 times, but apparently I got it wrong. So thanks for sticking around. And again, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, you can find me on all the usual channels, and reach out if you need more information about JXL, or have other thoughts and feedback. I'm always very, very happy to chat.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining the session, and keep collaborating and keep sharing the knowledge. So on 24th of July, we will have another session. I would not disclose the topic name. Now I'll be publishing it tonight. So it would be available on LinkedIn. So please feel free to join. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.